My name is Derek Hall. I'm with FitnessVolt.com. Today I'm being joined by Robert Oberst. He is heading into the 2020 World's Strongest Man, looking for a big win here. How are you doing today, Robert?
I'm doing really well, man. Doing really well. We're just getting anxious, trying to see if this storm's going to be crazy or not. There's a lot of stuff up in the air, but I wouldn't count on 2020 to be different.
Right. I mean, what else do you expect at this point, you know?
Right.
So thanks again for taking the time out to speak with us. I know you got a lot going on. How's your training coming along for the 2020 World's Strongest Man?
It's been great, man. It's been really good. I've had a nice focused year. I got to, stay home with, normally I do a lot of traveling and appearances and all that stuff. And obviously this year that wasn't really a thing. So I feel like I took advantage of the time and I focused pretty much solely on weights. It was good.
Hey, fantastic. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Has there been any major changes for your training this year, given everything that's going on?
It was not really changes. There was hectic times trying to figure out like what we were going to do. The gyms kind of got put in the dirty pile at the beginning of lockdowns for some reason, and we had to figure out what was going on with that. But that all came together pretty quickly, and everything's been straight since. So I feel like the big difference in this year for me was more of a consistency thing. It's for me, I've always see that the sport doesn't really, you don't get paid to compete. You get a little bit of money when you compete, but if you're trying to make a full-time job out of this, you got to go out and hustle, and you got to be willing to travel and to shake some hands and all that stuff. So for me this year, it really became consistency with me being home the whole time and focusing solely on those weights.
What kind of changes have you been able to see, considering the fact that now you're able to train consistently?
Changes? Oh, just getting stronger, man. It's like, it's all a progression. I felt like the last this year and the last 2 years, I've progressively got stronger and stronger. I'm feeling more agile. I finally got my weight right where I like it. It's for me, weight is more of an issue than the other guys. Like I graduated high school, I was 375 pounds. Most of these guys are eating a ton of food to be big. And for me, like if I eat like these guys, I'll be 550 pounds in no time. It'll just be like that. I'm a big boy. So I found my sweet spot where I'm not so big that I can't breathe, but I feel like I'm big enough to take advantage of my size that I have naturally. Sitting right now at about 420 pounds.
420 pounds. Is that about how much of a difference is that compared to where you usually sit?
It depends on the year. Last year I came in, I was about 430-ish, and I felt like it was just a little too big. It was a little too big. When I'm at 430, I feel like my recovery takes a little bit longer. I feel like, when you get to the last 20 or 30 feet of the truck pull, I don't have the same whip in my step. There's just little things like that, and all those little tiny things end up meaning a lot. So this year I'm slim and fit 420, and I even have like the outline of my upper abs when I first wake up, and I'm always so excited. They're gone by breakfast, but they're there for a minute.
Oh, that's great to hear. So have you had any sort of setbacks in your training for this year's World's Strongest Man? Any
nope,
injuries,
not this year.
Like
it's been great, man. I mean, with everything going on and everything, I couldn't ask for a better year of prep. It's been really, really good. I'm fortunate, and I've had good people around me. I'm training at this really great gym out in Idaho. I've got all my equipment, and I got guys there that are national level competitors, and people that are actually, they show up on days they're not training just to help me train, and I never had that before. So I feel very, very well prepared.
Well, obviously, things are a little bit different this year compared to previous years. And as you alluded to, the weather is looking a little bit suspect heading into this event. So it's a little hard to have expectations. But do you have any expectations for how things will turn out this year?
I know I'm going to do well. I expect a lot out of myself. Like you said, we got to figure out what the groups are and what the events are. That means so much. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to guess what's going on without that. But obviously, I'd like to get myself back in the finals. And I feel like with the events the way they were prior to all this craziness, I feel like I was really, really set to get top 5 and even possibly get up on that podium. And hopefully we'll be able to, you know, still do the same events or similar events. It sucks to not know, but the thing is, you know, we're just happy to be here. We're happy that we got to compete. We're happy that with all this craziness going on, that they still made it available to us, and that we're still going to, you know, put on a show with all the hard work we put in. So I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to put my head down and, you know, go swimming in the river that I have to deadlift in tomorrow is what it looks like.
Too bad there's no swimming events, right?
Right. We were talking about it earlier, you know, like you might get extra credit points for like if the river like moves your deadlift or a crocodile flies through and you fight it, you know, that's got to be bonus points. So,
Florida's definitely crazy. So obviously one of the big things heading into this event was the lack of people that have been, you know, usually at the World's Strongest Man that are unable to compete this year. What do you make of the I wouldn't say necessarily lesser competition, but you're just missing a lot of those big names?
Oh yeah, I would definitely not call it lesser competition. It's there's 2 guys here that are good that won't be competing. And the truth is that's the thing about sport. That's the thing about strongman is everyone likes to think that, you know, whoever shows up and is the strongest person like in the gym is going to win the show. And that's not really how it works. You got to see what kind of fight you have to go through in your groups. You got to see what kind of event you got. And then the truth is leading into it, you have to be prepared for the abuse you're going to get. So last year, I felt like I was a top 5 guy. I was the strongest I'd ever been. I was just cruising into the finals, having just a great show. And I tore the meat in my forearm, tore the muscle in my forearm. And so that's it. Like there's no, oh, you were this, but you didn't quite get it because no, the truth is I was weak and I wasn't prepared. And so that part of my body just decided it was quitting. So there's no ifs, ands, and buts, you know, if you always hear about, you know, if a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass every time it hopped. So you know, I think the 25 strongest men in the world are here. And more than that, these guys have been challenged and tested in ways that nobody's ever been challenged and tested for this show. You know, we've got guys that have had to figure out how to take care of their families and how to feed their loved ones through a time where, you know, people were just deemed unnecessary by the government, not told that they couldn't work. So there's a lot more that goes into this year. And I think you're going to see who's mentally the strongest, who's physically the strongest, and who could make a year like this, you know, work for them.
Now, a lot of people who aren't making it to this year's World's Strongest Man are people who have been injured. But of course, your good friend, Thorbjornsson, announced his retirement earlier this year. It kind of came as a surprise to some people. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I wasn't really surprised. Yeah, I mean, it is what the sport uses you up and spits you out, man. You gotta do what you do, and we move forward. I was surprised that he left after his performance last year. I thought he would want to come back and give it a full go, but you know, it is what it is. He's got other things going, and you got to understand, like I said earlier, like in the sport, you don't make money unless you're hustling, and he's got other opportunities, other things he wants to do, and so, you know, I applaud him for that. He's got a family, and you know, there's only so long you can break your back with weights before sooner or later you got to pay for it.
Now, that's enough talking about who's not going to be there. Let's focus on who is going to be there. We've got tons of still really, really talented strongmen that are going to be competing this week. Who would you say is going to be your biggest adversary heading into the World's Strongest Man?
I think the top guy you got to talk about is Brian Shaw. Brian Shaw, there's only 2 people you can have an actual argument about being the strongest men to ever live. Brian Shaw is one of them. Big Z's the other one. And I think he comes in and he's looking really, really good. His training and everything. And I think he's hungry. He's, you know, this year there's blood in the water, man. And you're waiting to see who the Sharks are, because there's guys out here that are going to take advantage of the situation. And there's guys out here that are going to melt because of it. And I don't see Brian melting. So I'd say Brian is the clear shot first, the top ranked guy. I would say he is for sure. You know, you got the Stoltman brothers, and you got other guys that look good. JF Carone, in my opinion, he's been what I consider the gatekeeper forever in our world. There's levels of strength. You know, you got guys that do the sport for fun. You got guys who compete on an international level. You got the guys who go to World's Strongest Man, who are considered the strongest people in the world. You got guys who are perennial finalists. And then you got that top tier, and that top tier is the guys who get the top 5. And the gatekeeper for that top tier is JF Carone. It always has been ever since he started this sport. I mean, he's been 5th place like 4 years in a row, 4th place last year. He's one of those guys that, you know, he's going to make you earn your spot. And so, you know, I'd say he's one of the top contenders as well. I just saw him. He's looking big and ready to go. So it's one of those years that's up in the air. I like my chances. I like the events, man. I feel like I got a nice chip on my shoulder. I feel like it's one of those years I've been extremely motivated and focused, and I just want to put the iron on the ground and let's run. You know.
Hey, sounds good to me, man. So we're looking at a lot of uncertainty with the weather coming in and all that. I know you guys got a tentative list of events, but who knows if that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
What events are you hoping to see, and what events are you hoping that you don't end up having to deal with?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping I get the log. Obviously, log press is my baby. I'm really hoping for squat. Like I'd like to squat, but I don't know. The last rumor I heard was like we might all have to deadlift because squat's risky, and then it was like, oh, we might be indoors, we might do this, we might do that. Who knows? If somebody told me I get to choose, well, I'm squatting. I'll squat over deadlift for sure. But honestly, I don't really care. We all got to do the same thing. You know, all the guys are dealing with the same issues. None of us know. So, you know, it's like I said, like there's going to be some guys who dwindle and get worried about all this stuff. And there's going to be some guys who just feed off of the tension. And so for me, I don't care. Just tell me where to go, what to lift, and I'll do it.
Do you have any sort of game plan in mind to try to avoid an injury like last year, or to try to get a leg up on Brian, or what kind of game plan do you have going into this, knowing that
the game plan is to be strong and be fast. The pretty part already happens. I don't have to do anything for it. I wake up this way. But you know, it's you know, the preparation has a lot to do with when you get injured. Like what happened is when I was training Stones before, I wasn't wearing sleeves, and then when I got in the show, it was wet, so I put on these new sleeves, and it was super tight. And so when it was like pulling on that part of my arm, I felt weird, and then once I really yanked it, it just snapped it. So I feel like you're never going to be like able to avoid injury completely. You know, it's part of the sport. But I feel like I'm prepared as best as I can be, and I'm super confident, man. I try not to act that way around the guys. I try and make sure I don't act any different than I normally feel, but I feel pretty damn good.
All right. So what is your motivation going into this year's World's Strongest Man?
There's a lot, man. It's been a wild year. It's, you know, a lot of my family had some struggles and everything. And, you know, it's not easy to talk about, but, you know, I want to do my best for all that. I want to be able to, you know, make the people proud that sacrificed for me and the people that I've had to take care of. I want them to, you know, have that moment. But I have a 5-year-old boy who's like just so excited that I'm here. It's like is kind of the first time he actually really gets it, where he wants to FaceTime me and talk about what we're doing, and he wants to see, like, you know, like, how do you feel? And he asked me about, like, because I go for walks with him 2 or 3 times a day. And then I stretch and all that. And he's like, "You getting your walks in, Daddy? And how does this feel?" And so, you know, I got more motivation than I could possibly hold in.
That's sweet as can be, man. Now, again, I want to thank you so much for your time. I'll get you out of here on this. What's your one message to all your fans who are excited to see you compete this week?
End lockdowns. You know, honestly, if you want to know like what I like, what I want people to get from watching me or from hearing me, mostly I just want people to have confidence in themselves, to believe in themselves, and realize there's no rules that say you have to be, if you're born poor, or if you're born fat, or if you have this kind of life, there's no rules that say you can't change that. I was dirt poor as a kid and chubby and had nothing. I was homeless when I was 16, and if you fight long enough, you'll find your way out. So I think between that and everybody's necessary.
Well, I'm certainly excited to see you compete. I'm excited to see how this all turns out. Thank you so much again for your time, Robert, and good luck this week, okay?
Thanks a lot, bud. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.